And welcome once again to the Liberty Lounge podcast. However y'all found us, we're glad that you did. Once again, day 2 here in Nashville, Tennessee. Anthony, the armed scholar, is here on my far left, and on my near left is Jared of Guns and Gadgets. I'm Johnny B from YouTube, and the three of us could not be happier. All right, y'all know this. I recently passed the great unknown boundary. I turned 50, and Captain Full Head of Hair over here, I'm sure, is like, go drink some Metamucil, you old fudge. And that's part of it. Part of it is growing old and have the young guys laugh at you, and then we admire their fantastic hair. What does it mean to be a man? I have been reflecting on my life, reflecting on what little future I have left. A friend of mine told me this. He said, Johnny, you're now on the back nine. You ain't on the front nine anymore. Jared, You're looking at 50, and we'll talk a little bit today about where we're at in America. But for you right now, 2024, what does it mean to be a man?
To be somebody who can be depended upon, somebody who can fix or handle a multitude of scenarios, be a provider, and to someone who your community and your family can look up to. It's
Anthony,
a good start.
You're in late 20s, is that right?
No, 30s.
Early 30s.
Yeah.
Okay. You just had your 30th birthday not that long ago. Yeah, we were one of my best friends
2
in the
years
world.
ago, yeah.
2 years ago. We're super tight. We are. But it's one of the things that guys can be best buddies and not even know each other's last name. Like, wait,
Who
what
are you?
Yeah, who are you?
That amazes women. They're like, I can remember hanging out, with guys and going home and talking to a woman, and she's like, "What'd y'all talk about?" I'm like, I don't know. Well, did you find out about Jared's wife's birthday party? I'm like, Jared has a wife. That's dudes. I'm like, how old are you? Late 20s? You're like, I'm in my 30s, like by 2 years. For you, what does it mean to be a man during this time of your life within the framework of 2024?
Ooh, I think reflecting on a lot, kind of where I'm at my age, it's a little scary, to be honest, because I look at, for example, my dad, when he had his first kid, he was 21, and I don't have any kids right now. And by the time my dad was my age, he already had his last kid. So he had 5 kids like all together. So it's a little scary thinking about, I hold my dad in the highest regard. And I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about that later, about what it means like to be a man and stuff. But it's a little scary. I think it's still the acquisition of knowledge right now, and trying to get it from good sources and good men that you can look up to and try to take a little bit of their teachings and integrate it into your life. But it's hard, like you said, Johnny, right now in this era, the stuff that's thrown out at you about don't be a man, no responsibility as a man. You don't have to necessarily even have a wife. You don't have to raise kids a certain way. You don't even have to take care of your kids. You don't even have to work. So it's interesting. I feel like I'm in this weird tween age right now, still trying to fully grow as a man. And then it's also weird to have the responsibility that we all have on social media with a lot of people looking up to you, expecting you to do everything right when I'm still trying to, in some ways, figure out my own life.
Yeah, you're making it up as you go along. Somebody told me this years ago, and Anthony, you're crushing it. I mean, you got a Juris Doctorate degree, you've got a great life, you're very successful, but you still, I think on the inside, you've got imposter syndrome. You're like, I still feel like a guy and not a man. Because the minute your answer was, and we don't plan any of this, it's just a conversation that we had kind of chit-chatted about a couple hours ago. But immediately I'm like, hey, what does it mean to be a man? You're like, I don't even have kids. And I think what I hear you saying is like, I kind of still feel like a guy.
Yeah.
Even though I'm on the life's path, things are going really well, I still feel like a guy. Somebody told me this one time. Jared, tell me what you think about this. They said your 20s and your 30s, it's a generalization. Your 20s and your 30s are the learning years. Your 40s and your 50s are the earning years. And the 20s and 30s pay off. And I think, Anthony, you still feel like I don't have it together. I certainly know I don't have it together, but I'm a lot less scared than I used to be, or a lot less like I'm feeling around in the dark. And Jared, as you are approaching 50, is it getting easier? You're not arrived.
No.
But is it easier?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot less uncertainty as far as building out what I think is good for my family and what I can provide for them. Because like you said, now we're about earning and hopefully squirreling away stuff so that when we're gone, those we leave behind are in a better spot than before we were starting to do whatever we're doing. But yeah, it's I remember being 32 and thinking like, what the hell am I going to do with the rest of my life? But now
It's easier.
it does. It gets easier, but at the same time, it gets more difficult because, like I said, now I'm worried about my kids, and eventually I am not going to be here.
It gets easier, but and that's what I was thinking. You get that pressure of I'm gonna die. Like I'm a lot closer to dying than I used to be. And I know Anthony's hair looks great, but there is something really cool about being 32. I mean, there's something really, really neat about that. What's the best thing about being 32 compared to being back when you were 12 or 22? Like you got a lot of good going on. How has it gotten cool for you?
I think the difference, so I feel like also my generation was a lot different than your guys' generation. Every generation's different.
Millennial,
Yeah.
Gen X.
I deferred. I mean, maybe I'm different a lot than some of my friend groups too. I deferred a lot of the young fun for school, going to law school, working. And I was always on the path of build these skills and it's going to pay off later in life. And a lot of that was learning from my dad and my family. He had kids at such a young age and had to start working hard immediately and just was working paycheck to paycheck. And always had told me, build these skills. Down the road, it's going to pay off. So I was always building that. So reflecting back on like when I was 22, yeah, I was in college, but I was not a big party guy at college. I didn't go to parties. Like I didn't join frats because like all my friends, I was in the study hall studying on weekends like a loser, like a nerd. But it paid off. And I always knew it's going to pay off down the road. And now it's funny because when I'm 32 and I get to reflect back, I would never want to change. I would never trade now for then because my life now is so much better than then. The freedom I have, the financial freedom, the fun, the things especially just the opportunities in the situation I'm in now. Like, I got to fly to Nashville and hang out with friends and do a podcast and talk to people online about a topic I don't feel qualified to talk about, but it's fun. And so I would never trade back. I know some guys like would pay anything to go back to high school. I was a nerd in high school. Yeah, I had a lot of friends. I played football. I wasn't necessarily like not a popular person, but I love what I do now, and I love where I'm at now.
Yeah, and it pays off. Like I didn't like that one word you used. You're like, hey, I was in the study room like a loser, and I know you mean like stereotypical.
Yeah,
like the football kids are having fun, but I think that's a W, and that's your pathway. And I'm not just trying to be, good for you. It is good to freaking grind and get that stuff paid off and get those degrees done. I graduated, and degrees aren't for everybody. Like, give me a lineman to go put a line out here and they make $94 an hour. That's success, and that's a W. For me, my pathway was college, and I finished in 8 semesters flat. And I was a loser on that level in the same way, but I think it's also a W to get it done.
Yeah, and I think I have a weird perspective too about undergrad because I went to quote unquote a party school, UC Santa Barbara. It's one of the most known party schools. They have every single weekend. I mean, the Halloween weekend is insane. And then some of the other weekends they have where kids from out of state will fly and just do party at these fraternities and during this time period. So all my friends are having that experience. And I went there because I had a scholarship and it was free. So it was just like a different kind of worlds collage type of thing. And yeah, I would go and hang out with them. But for the most part, it was like, hey, I'm paying out of pocket for this. Like, yeah, it was pretty much free, but like, I'm not going to squander this opportunity. I was the first one to go to college in my family. A lot, like you guys talk about, a lot on your shoulders, a lot of my shoulders. And even now, I think a lot of my family is looking at me to try to lead them into, and they'll joke, we all have family members who would joke about like, well, maybe when you buy a beach house or because you're the only one that's going to do it. There's a lot of that pressure too. Yeah. So just, it's a different dynamic, reflecting back on school. And I would never go back to law school. Law school is horrible. Law school is not fun. Screw law school. Never going to go back. You cannot pay me enough money to go back to law school.
Screw law school. You heard it here first. All right. I don't want to talk about us three because this is awkward and we're not talking about y'all. Let's talk about men in general because this is not about us. Men. This is just about men in general. Men. Manly men. We just got a copyright claim. All right, men today as a whole, we're talking about tendencies because even with our different generations, there's a lot of similarities. Like we like the same stuff. We've had a blast today hanging out. We're gonna have a blast tonight hanging out after the cameras are shut off and just hanging out, smoking some cigars outside and being dudes. A lot of similarities. One of the things that men are dealing with today is that they're crumbling. New research is out that says men are not happy in America. North American men are not happy from 25 to 65. They talk less every year that goes on. They talk less. They laugh less. They have fewer friends. And in their mid 60s, they start reverting back and they have some of the same joy they had in their youth. Men are stressed out. They have nobody to talk to. We don't tell each other we love each other. Men are fabulously or ridiculously addicted to porn, and porn is crumbling the American man's psyche. Our relationship with women as a whole, not one man and woman, but as a whole, we don't know how to interact with women. We are struggling in what we see and how we objectify women and all of this stuff. Jared, where are we at? I know we laugh about Cheetos dusted fingers, kids playing video games, but it is true. Men are dying.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I grew up that it didn't matter. Didn't matter if you had feelings, if you were sad. You know why? Because stuff still needed to get done. You still
work.
Yeah,
you
get to
still
work.
needed to accomplish what you needed to accomplish because nobody else was going to do it for you. And that's kind of how I still live my life that way. I don't depend on anybody because if it's going to get done, it's got to be me. And I take pride in being that person my family can depend on, and my community can depend on, and my friend group can depend on. If you guys call me at 4, I'm that guy at 4 a.m. You call me, I'm going to be there for you. And we all need that person. And I got a couple of them sitting right here, and I'm blessed. But I think as I've gotten older and moved here to Tennessee, and we are members of the same lounge, I have for the first
Cigar
time,
lounge.
Cigar lounge.
We're a member of the same cigar lounge.
What other lounge are you thinking about?
I don't know.
Yeah, what kind of lounge
I
you
didn't
go?
like that tone. Well, hey, ladies, we're a member of the same lounge. Stop by from 4 to 8 for half price drinks, ladies.
But for the first time in my life, I have fellowship, which is cool because every now and then we'll bounce stuff off each other for guys who are older than us in the group that have been through it before. And we can get some guidance from folks who have more wisdom than us. And we can also give that guiding hand to other guys in our group that are struggling. And we've had people in our group that go through the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows. And to be able to be a sounding board is cool. It's the first time I've ever experienced it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because I still need to do what I have to do. My responsibility is my responsibility. That's just me. I mean, maybe people out there think I'm crazy, but that's how I was raised. And it just, it doesn't matter what my feelings
I
are.
think it's great. I think this whole Generation X, I can do it. There's an Instagram kid I forget his account, but it's something like listen to a Gen X or something. He walks in and just asks his dad questions. And his dad's always working on something. He's like, do it yourself.
Yeah.
But there's a challenge. I think there's a duality to that. Yeah, on one hand, heck yeah, we'll do it ourselves. Gen X, I'm going to figure it the frick out. And now that we have YouTube and Google, no, I'm done. I've got it. But on the other hand, we lose that connectedness. There are some new studies that this generation, not to objectify you, but this generation, they prefer working at tables and working in groups, whereas our generation is like, just give me my work and I'll do it. Anthony, do you think your generation's a little better at working in group? Jared says fellowship is key. Do you think your generation's a little bit better at the fellowship and being connected?
It's hard because I can only really speak on my experience, and I'm a big introvert, as you guys know. The reason how I'm doing any of this is beyond me. I would prefer to sit in my little cubby in my office and just do stuff by myself, and again, not really rely on anybody. But I could see how the millennials are a little bit more groupthink. I think we see a lot of that online and how this generation is portrayed groupthink and collaborative and big culture things.
Yeah.
And then I would say the generation becoming behind mine are connected, but not person to person connected. It's all online. Looking at, some of my younger brothers, they will sit and play video games all day with their friends, but it's all through Discord, which is an online chat system. Yeah, they're hanging out with their buddies, but it's not really hanging out with their buddies. So it's just interesting how every generation kind of pokes fun at the generation coming behind them. I think it's just a different approach to things, but I don't really think that you're getting the same quality of fellowship on a Discord chat as you are person sitting in a lounge, actually talking to the person and doing man things sometimes. Like sometimes doing the traditional man thing of smoking a cigar and drinking some whiskey and just shooting the shit with your buddies. Like guys need that sometimes.
Guys need that, and we do a terrible job of reaching out. We all do that. Hey, if you need anything, call me. And you just said, hey, I'm the guy. If you need me, holler at me at 4 a.m. We do we go through this life alone, and I think it's one thing that we're doing very poorly. And right now, as men in 2024, is we are still, maybe social media, we're more connected than ever, but are we really?
Yeah.
We talked about a Bible scripture earlier today that was, I think, I'm probably going to butcher this. I'm sorry, but it's rejoice with folks that rejoice, and when folks around you weep with them. And to your point, that we need to celebrate, and when somebody has a thumbs up, slap them on the back and buy them a cigar, buy them a beer, buy them a Coca-Cola, and when they're struggling, sit with them and put your arm around them and cry with them when it's time. And I think we do a really bad job. I think it's, again, the reason that the porn addiction rates in this country are astronomical. And that's not judgment at all. That's just the reality. It's just what it is. It just is what it is. And men are stressed out. They're nervous. They're watching stuff and trying to connect digitally with the other sex instead of having real relationships. And I know even for me, I think relationships for me are getting easier in my 50s. You were at my 50th birthday party. And I mean, it was a really good environment. And I sat back in this barn and looked at all of these dudes. It was a huge party. I'm like, I'm connected to all of these guys. And I'm like, this is really wild. Because 15 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, I had 3, 4, 5 friends. And for me, it's getting easier. Anthony, as you've moved into your 30s, what's getting easier for you in being a man? Because we all struggle in all of this stuff. Has any of it gotten easier for you?
It's hard. You guys both stare at me. I don't know.
Or has it gotten harder? Like, what are you struggling in?
In some ways, it's gotten harder as you get, obviously, when you move out of the 20s into the 30s, like in my mind, you're pretty well into your adulthood, and a lot of people are having kids and your profession. I think the things that gotten easier for me is my profession. That stuff is well settled. Now it's the other aspects of life, like the compromises I made to build the finance, the education, all that stuff. Now it's, okay, I got to build a family, take care of the family I have now, and then projecting where does life really go and what type of life do I really want to build that I can enjoy, because I even find myself still now so focused on the day-to-day operations that I don't actually enjoy where I'm at. And the hard thing too is like looking at my dad. He was one of those guys that really did work very, very hard, paycheck to paycheck, live for retirement, but then died at like 57, 4 years after he retired. So I don't really want to end up like that. So it's trying to enjoy where I'm at right now, but also trying to keep the house of cards built. I think the friendship part in some ways has gotten easier, but also harder. And it's kind of interesting hearing you say that, Johnny, of like you didn't have a lot of friends younger, and as you got older, you built more real friendships or real personal friendships. Because I feel like that's kind of where I'm at right now, where I've sacrificed so much to where I didn't put a lot into the friendship bucket because I was doing all these other things and didn't have time to be, when someone's like, hey, you want to go do X, Y, and Z? It's like, no, I'm working. I got to do this other stuff.
Yeah.
So now trying to invest in that a little bit more. So.
I think for me in my 30s, I was stressed out. And it's usually a time where you're working more than you've ever worked. The three of us had talked on episode 2 or 3 about how all three of us on some level have traded our health for our wealth. We've traded our physical bodies for, in the same way the guys working out and digging ditches are trading their skeletal system for earning. We have just had a sedentary lifestyle because YouTube is behind a computer, it or not. We have traded that. And it's been a struggle for me in my 30s. It was a lot. I went to grad school twice in my 30s. I spent most of my 30s in college, and it was a nightmare. 3 a.m. and still worked full time. Nightmare of 3 a.m. I can remember my son, one of my worst memories in my entire life, and this is the first time I've ever talked about this without crying, but now I'm past it. Like, I understand, I got more perspective. But I was about 31 or 32. I had a little boy who was in diapers, but could, the tall and running around the house, and he just wanted to play with daddy, 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 daddy. I had something for school I had to do. I shut the door, and he put his face down underneath the door and said, Dada. And he wanted me to play, and I didn't play with him that night. And that haunted me for years. Now, that little 2-year-old is now almost 22, and he's hanging out with us tonight. We're good. We're good here, people. We're fine. But for me, now, at this point in my life, I am at the point where, and I was not there. You may be there. I was not there in my 30s. That I can go out to eat with friends and go, geez, this is a good time. I had so much fun at lunch with y'all today, and the lunch, it took about an hour to an hour and a half for us to get our food. It took forever.
It took us an hour and a half to get our appetizer.
Yeah, over an hour to get the appetizer. And I just told y'all halfway through, I was like, this sure is a good time. I'm starting to appreciate it more, and I'm able to, talk about that story that really used to make me cry, and now go, you know what, this is a pretty good meal. This house, we're hanging out in this house this week, having a blast. Jared, do you appreciate things the older you get?
Yeah, definitely. For my whole career of 24 years, I missed every birthday party, every graduation, every holiday. I worked 100-hour a weeks. It just, I gave up a lot to be able to provide. And, now I am blessed that I am able to recoup a little bit of that and be present for my kids at a time in our country where I think they need somebody present more than ever. So it's odd how things work out, but it's definitely easier on that front. But at the same time, now I got to switch modes to prepare for me not being there. And that's stuff I struggle with.
You're gonna
still.
die.
Yeah, eventually.
I think getting that and just making peace with the fact that we talked about on the other episode that this may not be the end times of Jesus coming back, but it's our end times. This is all we got. And
clock's ticking for all of us.
The clock is ticking for all of us. I got in not that long ago a Smith & Wesson 5906, and that was like the Don Johnson. It's an old 1990s Smith & Wesson. This thing is brand new in the box, never been fired. It is brand spanking new with 20 mags, all stainless steel. I mean, it's honest to goodness, hands down. It took me 5 years to find this gun. It is museum quality. And somebody said, what are you going to do with it? I said, I'm going to take it to the range and beat the crap out of it. And they're like, oh, you can't. Watch me.
Yeah.
Because I'm starting to appreciate things more and more. Anthony, as you age, are you more appreciative of life?
Oh, yeah. Again, reflecting on kind of the journey I've already taken in my life, where I'm at now, in my wildest dreams, could have never imagined. I'm very blessed. And I tried to enjoy the things I get to do now as much as I can, like getting to do this stuff. It's amazing that I get to call this work in some way. It's beyond me, and thank you to everybody that watches and supports us. I try to enjoy time with my family as much as possible. I like to spoil some of my family members. I will take my sister, my brother-in-law, and their kids to Disneyland. I don't have kids, but I'll go watch their kids. We spoil their kids. I try to do as much family stuff as I can. But it's like Johnny said, sometimes it's hard. You get sucked into the day in a day, stressed about whatever it is you're stressed about. And then you look at the grand scheme of your life and you're like, I'm pretty lucky. So still having those moments, but.
Have you experienced those moments where people say that men suffer in silence, that we go through life? I've got a friend, he's a successful doctor. And he told me one time, he said, dude, I lay in bed multiple nights a week staring at the ceiling, crushed under pressure. And he does not have an anxiety disorder. He's just a regular dude. His brain is firing accurate. And people that are dealing with manic depressive stuff or depression issues, their brain's not firing. They're not getting the right chemicals. So this is not a guy that's dealing with garbage in his brain. He's a regular dude who is blessed to be dealt a hand of a healthy mind. And yet he still lays there stressed out, alone. Do you identify with that ever, that we're crushed alone sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah. We all struggle. I mean, every person struggles with something at some point in their life. No one's life at any moment is perfect. There have definitely been periods in my life. The most volatile period of my life really was the beginning of COVID, that 2020 time. I was transitioning from private practice to working with FPC. At the same time, channels taking off. So I'm dealing with all of that. My nephew got hit by a drunk driver and died. A month later, my dad dies of COVID. And then while all this big career stuff is happening at the same time and having to make hard decisions about like, where do I want to take my career? That was probably the worst period of my life, darkest period of my life. Although I joke with my wife a lot, and we joke about this quite often. It was probably the worst year of my life, yet the best year of my life at the same time, because like
I'm cutting you off. You used a word. So the channel's transitioning, and you've seen some wild success, and it's been amazing to watch. And that opens a lot of doors. It opens financial doors. It opens relationship doors. It opens travel doors. It puts you sitting in Tennessee right now. But you used the word, I was dealing with that.
Yeah.
It's not all that it cracked up to be, because sometimes success is just as crushing as defeat.
Oh yeah. It's, I mean, speaking to the audience, and I know a lot of people, we joke about this. A lot of people say, oh, all you do is turn on the camera, but you don't see the back end of what it took. Just what we're filming right now, the back end of what it took for us to get here, to not just set up the equipment, but flying here, setting up the stuff that we have going on, and just tomorrow, and just all the dynamics of that, and then running the business behind that, and then the law stuff behind all that. It's a lot, and it is a lot. It's just like a job. I mean, it's a very complicated, intricate job. But yeah, I mean, as a man, we deal with a lot of stuff. And in some ways, it's kind of like Jared said, like, suck it up, buttercup. Yeah. Like,
yeah, and there's people listening going, wow, your business is so good, and wow, you get to take trips. Jared crushing it. On some level, it's a lot of good, 90% good. But has there been moments where your success, and you have spiraled upward as well, where your success has cost you?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. It's, I'm blessed to be able to have two companies where they're doing well. And I never grew up, I mean, didn't grow up in an area where anybody started a company. So I'm blessed, but it's caused so much more work than I would ever. For those who are thinking, if you work for somebody, you might not understand what I'm going to say, and it might sound off base. But when you work for yourself, when you're a business owner, you work harder than you ever did before. There is no Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. There is no, I'm not going to do this because it's not in my job description. We run it all. Like, we do everything. We're HR. We schedule stuff. We have to deal with, money coming in, money coming out.
Somebody else pays the water bill. Somebody else pays the light bill. Somebody else makes sure there's internet on. Somebody makes sure that you have a desk. When you are an employee, somebody else does everything except for your job.
Right.
When you're the owner, you do everything.
Yeah, and it's everything it falls on your shoulders, especially if you have employees. Like my other company, we have over 50 employees now, and that's a lot of pressure because they feed their family off of us being able to continue to keep the trajectory going up. So that's a ton of pressure. And yeah, you lose the ability to do a lot of things that you might not have lost if you did have a 40-hour a week job. But I am not complaining. I am so happy to be able to employ people. I am so happy to be able to be a positive role model for my children, because I didn't have that growing up. I didn't have that. So yeah, you give up a lot, but again, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter. It still has to get done.
Now watch this, because this is not, success. I now have to pay the water bill. It's a lot, like it really is. And we've all three made choices, and some of it, we've made some good choices along the way. We've blown it along the way, but you have Blackout. You're one of the owners of blackoutcoffee.com/liberty. And use that coupon code. That's not an ad. That's exactly an ad. It's 100% an ad. But one of the things, when y'all opened up with a little bit of investment thing a while back, your friends, your close friends invested, and it made you make that face. Why? Now, Jared's friends are investing because they want to in his company, and yet that now sits on your shoulders.
Oh yeah, dude, that's heavy, because not only do I have to perform and make sure the company is successful just because, but now I have my friends who I can't let down just because I grew up as a man and I handle my business.
One more thing that daddy's got to take care of.
Just keep stacking, so I'm blessed that, things are going well, and, God willing, it'll continue that way. And my children will be able to maybe not have to work as hard as I did because I'm busting my hump.
Today's episode is brought to you by TristarTrading.com. Softest shirts in the game. Jared is pointing at the Disobey shirt. I was going to ask him to do something, but I knew he would. Disobey. It's TristarTrading.com. Shirts, hats, belts, slings, patches, decals, and some of the best flags you will ever see for your man cave. Use coupon code LIBERTY to save. I don't know what the savings is. I have no idea, but we'll figure it out. Put it on the screen. Big thank you to the folks at TristarTrading.com. All right, everybody likes giving advice. Anthony, give some advice to the viewers that are out there that are in their teens and their 20s. What do you wish somebody had told you along the way? Just one thing. There may be 30 things. but maybe something somebody had told you along the way that might have helped you in your journey.
It's interesting because I have some younger brothers and some younger siblings that are kind of that age group and are coming up right now. I think what I would tell myself would be different than what I would tell this new generation coming up. What I would tell this generation coming up, and it's a very blanket statement, and maybe some people take offense to this, but it's grow up. Be a man. It's okay to be a man.
What does that mean? What does it mean to be a man? Because, and here's why, there's a continuum. We talked earlier today, not everybody's John Wayne. Not everybody's going to, eat bullets and eat leather and crap lightning and thunder. And not everybody's going to spit tobacco. You're going to have some poets. You're going to have some guys that are just a little bit softer, that are maybe more organized, maybe more artistic, and that's fine. Yet they're still men.
Yeah.
So what does that mean to be a man?
I mean, it is a continuum, like you said, where you have the John Wayne guys to a little bit more, I guess, poetic type of guys.
We love poets.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin, that's freaking poetry.
We have a friend who runs the whole Warrior Poet Society.
That dude has never written a poet. And John Lovell has never written a poet and calls himself a warrior poet. He ain't no poet. He's a warrior. He ain't no poet.
But these younger guys, I think, shy so much away from, I guess, traditional male values, and they will throw that to the wayside. Well, I don't have to be that. I could be a beta male. I just saw something on YouTube where it was like alpha males versus beta males. And even the alpha males that I saw on there, I'm like, dude, you're the most beta alpha male I've ever seen in my life. But a lot of these young guys, I think in some ways are lacking identity. And I don't know if that's that traditional maleness that has been stripped from them, that it's okay to be strong. It's okay to be interested in women. It's okay to be rough and tumble and strong in some ways, but also it's, in my opinion, not okay to be 30 plus year olds living with your mom, relying, no prospects in life, no plan, saying it's okay, I'm just gonna be a lump of sack and just exist in this world right now.
For me, that word plan, and Jared, tell me I'm wrong. For me, that word plan that's the operational word. 30 to 40% of men at 35 are at home, or they have come back to home, and that's fine. I'm not judging anybody out there, for real. I am judging a man if they are able-bodied that doesn't have a plan. Yeah. Being stuck at home, putting your fingers back in the Cheetos bag and playing your stupid video games is fine if you have a plan. Is that the earmark? One of the earmarks of being a man is, instead of, well, woe is me, I hope the government bails me out, to, all right, I'm gonna cry for 2 days, and then I'm gonna figure it out.
There's so much defeat mentality in this new generation. Like, why? Like, there's so many younger guys that are just like, why even try? The world's against me. I'm just gonna sit here and exist. And I don't know if you've seen that too, but yeah, they're a lot of it is their plan is to just have no plan and to exist.
I think a lot of it comes down to the degradation of the nuclear family. You have a lot of males who have been growing up without a male role model, whether it's their original, biological father or someone else who had to step in the role for whatever reason. For whatever reason, they don't have it, and they don't know any better in a lot of cases, and they're trying to figure it out on their own. But it's still not an excuse. You still have to have a plan. You just can't flounder. You can't just throw yourself in the water and hope the current's going to take you where you need to be. You have to be able to, it's okay to be masculine. It's okay to rub people the wrong way. But you have to be able to take care of yourself. And if you can't take care of yourself, you have to look in the mirror. We talked earlier, a big thing for me is like, I try, all of us, everybody walking the earth generally tries to be better at what they're doing, no matter what it is, every day. And as long as I can
push back against that, I don't know if everybody lives that way.
Everybody should.
Everybody should.
Yeah.
But my goal is to look in that mirror every single day and look at myself and to pass that test. Every day I do it. I pass the man in the mirror test. And if I didn't pass it, meaning I didn't do something righteous that day, or I didn't do my best at something, I'm pretty damn hard on myself, because iron sharpens iron. And if you're not hard on yourself and you're not willing to say, you know what? Yeah, I screwed that up today. I messed up. I should have been kinder to that kid. I should have, helped out that bum instead of, throwing something at him, whatever it is.
Have you thrown things at bums?
I'm like, what?
Why was that the example?
All the things.
You gotta give both
Of all
extremes.
the
Both
examples to
extremes.
throw out there, I should be better. I'm going to look at that man in that mirror. And I'm also going to stop throwing things at bums.
Have a better
Rolls of
accuracy,
quarters.
maybe. Throw a
Stop
better
throwing rolls of quarters at bums.
tighter spiral, maybe next time. But you have to be able to, for me, pass that man. You have to have integrity. If you can't operate with integrity, you've got nothing.
Are we lost? Are we really in this place? Because this is, going to sound a little bit stereotypical, but it's true. Media, social media, the powers that be, the people with the microphones, the TVs, the ones that write the scripts, the ones that make the movies, they show men to be morons. I say all the time, show me one grown man from the last 20 years of media. And the guys are going to type, well, Tim Allen, Tim Allen did stand up. Show me another one. It gets really thin after that. On every show, the man is the moron, the man is the buffoon, the wife makes fun of the dad, or the dad's not even there. And are we really at this place where we can just say, hey, just, buck up and be men? Society hates that. They coined the term toxic masculinity. And now if you say, you know what, I'm going to be a leader. I'm going to be a leader of my home. Not in a controlling, ugly way, but I'm going to be the leader of my home. I'm going to be the leader of my family. I'm going to be a man and not be a limp-wristed, blue-haired liberal.
Yeah, I mean that's what has to take place. People need to realize if you're upset with the scenario you're in, look in the mirror, because you're a big part of the reason you're wherever you are. Whether it's success or failure, you have to own it. You did something. It's not everybody doing everything to you. Nobody is a pure victim, although a lot of people want to play that angle. You know what, dude? It's I think, and you said like a point to people in the media who are leaders or masculine. Like my pushback to that is like, why are we looking to media to tell us to be?
But this is what
That's the generation does. And it's interesting because on both spectrums, you can actually point, I would say traditional media, movies and stuff like that. You have the new Ghostbuster stuff where you have, what's his name? Hemsworth.
Yeah, but everything's so damn woke now.
Yeah. And so you see that in like traditional media, but then on this new age media, you have people like the Andrew Tates that are like these hyper alpha males, which aren't necessarily,
Calm down.
yeah, who aren't necessarily what you want these young men to follow. It's almost this caricature of what a man is. So they're seeing these two things, and I don't envy them.
Do we do it?
Where they're at?
Do we let them loose, or do we go with a part two?
Let them loose.
Part two on what?
The Andrew Tate side.
I
know you're not a big fan of the toxic masculinity.
No, I think the short version of this, if you don't know who Andrew Tate is, he is a influencer, and he does a lot of things. He talks about what it means to be a man, and little men and there's going to be viewers that don't like this. I'm not sorry. I am not sorry. I think most guys that like Andrew Tate are ill-informed on Andrew Tate. Guys look to him because he says, I'm a man. I'm here, excuse the language, but I'm here to get these bitches and get these hoes. And he says that. He runs around in fast cars, and he does a lot of good. He does a lot of cool things. He works out. He's he pushes, he expands his world records in kickboxing. He did fine. He's an athlete, but then he is also a pornographer. And, as a kind of a libertarian, I don't care what people do. As a Christian, I'm like, oh, come on. But he's a pornographer that laughs at little men. And he's done interviews repeated where he laughs at men and the money he takes from men, and that he takes money from the betas and the cucks, and how he can siphon cash from weak little men. And it makes me, it's the reason you're patting me going, because I get fired up. I wish Andrew Tate well. I hope he in his sex trafficking court case in Romania, I hope I hope justice is done, whatever that is. I don't know the case. He's facing another case in England. I hope he comes to the knowledge of Jesus. And I really do. But it hurts my heart to watch my friends, and I've seen my friends follow a pornographer like that because they're desperate for somebody to say, this is what it means to be a man. And rather than say, oh, wow, Andrew Tate's bad, I think Andrew Tate, for me, has shown a light on what we need. We need somebody to say, this is what it means to be a man. John Wayne is dead. Where is he today? Who do you look up to, Anthony? In today's society, is there people you look up to? Because it can't be Andrew Tate, the pornographer.
No, I don't look up to guys like that. I don't think I really look at any media people as an example.
Well, how about even in your own life? Who do you look to?
I think I look a lot to like the lessons my dad taught me, because I would consider him like the traditional man despite all of his pitfalls, was a pretty good example about like how to lead a family, how to work hard, how to be a man of God, all of those things. Of course, he had his shortcomings, but I think he did a pretty good job for the things that he was handed in life, and helped me get where I'm at now. So I think I look at people like that, the lessons that he taught me, biblical figures, of course, a lot of Bible teachings, but I don't look to people like Andrew Tate. Like Johnny said, a lot of those underlying values that they push, working out, being confident in yourself, being okay with being a man and being a traditional man, all of those, being a cigar smoking, whiskey drinker, sometimes brash, speaking your mind, being willing to fight, all of those things are good. Don't always agree with how they're packaged or how they're played up in certain ways. That's why I kind of avoid those type of media people.
Jared, who do you look up to? Whether it's in media or in your personal life, who do you look up to today?
I try not to idolize others, but I definitely look up to my mom because I got my drive. She grew up, we grew up. She was a single parent, had to raise 2 kids and work at night. And I definitely got my work ethic from her. I definitely got my drive to succeed when...
She's feisty, isn't she? I haven't met your mom, but she's feisty.
Oh, yeah.
Do we need more feist in 2024?
100%. 100%. You know, that's what I got a lot of my core values from, was watching what my mom had to do to make sure we had food. And then my dad, who was at one point the lowest of the low, and going down the wrong way to be being a really bad human being. And it just took a conversation, and he totally flipped his life around. And that, what I admire that is, to no matter how bad things can possibly be, you can always change it. If you work hard enough, you can obtain whatever you want. So my parents gave me some great skills, and I'm blessed. You know, I didn't have them in the same home, but I was able to learn a lot from them.
I think with me and my dad, because you mentioned your dad, you mentioned your mom and your dad. I think for me, it's and everybody loves my dad, like Big John. Everybody loves him and everybody imitates him. But one thing that he does that I have really taken on is he worries about your money so you don't have to. He always says that. If he owes somebody, he gonna worry about it. He owes the lawn mowing guy one time, and the guy's like, no, it's already getting late. He's like, I'm sorry I wasn't home to pay you. I'm coming right now. No, it's late. Nope, I'm going to worry about it so you don't have to. And he drove in the dark across town and paid the guy in cash, and that guy never had to worry about it again. And it's little lessons like that that I've picked up. And for me, that has been magnificent in my life, the few ways that I'm like my dad, and sometimes I'll just say, I just can't do it. Like there's things I just can't do because my dad would never do that. And there's other ways where I'm more like my mom, and I need to lay off the cheese. I mean, me and my mom, like we love us some Mexican food. And so I'm like my mom in a lot of ways, but having these people, you said you try not to idolize. No, I don't think it's idolizing. I think it's like, we don't have to freaking figure this out on our own. We can see examples of what not to do, and we can see also examples of what to do and learn from both of them. For me, there's a man named Clint Smith who is a firearms instructor. He runs Thunder Ranch out in Oregon. I've been out there a lot. I've been out there with you, Anthony. I know you know about Clint, and just seeing how he's led his life. He's not perfect. He's cranky. He'll tell you he's cranky sometimes. And his wife Heidi, who I adore, she's like, he's cranky today. He's not perfect. It's not some example that I hold up and idolize. But it's a guy, I look around his property and what he's built and the relationships he's built. And for me, it's not an idol, it's an example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. That's maybe a better way I should have said it. And that's another thing I said earlier that is benefiting me now as a 48-year-old, is that fellowship. Because I didn't have that before. And now I can pick the brain of, somebody that I know that maybe is good at investing now. And I can learn. Or somebody who has, real estate property, because that's something I would like to get into and learn and utilize that fellowship, that friendship, where they can help me become better.
We've used the word duality at this table a few times this week. And Anthony, tell me if you hear this as well. Like we started with Generation X here saying, just suck it up. Pull yourself up.
Suck it up.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can do it. Figure it out. You're going to be a man. But then on the other hand, you're like, hey, we need examples. We need connection. We need the same guy that says, suck it up, also said, we need connection. And do you see that duality in your life that we need both? And not to get too philosophical or too sappy about it, but as an introvert, you still can't be alone out there.
No, yeah, and by the grace of God and the blessings of God, I think what I do now was very critical for me and my growth in my life. Because otherwise, I would have just been the quote unquote nerd who just sits in his law office all day. Didn't have a ton of friends. Didn't go out, travel, see other states, see other places, do other things, hang out with guys. First time I really smoked a cigar was when we went to, where were we at? Where was that? We went to the weird underground mob place.
That was in Chicago. Was it in Chicago?
I don't know where that was.
No, that was in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, yeah. First time I really got into cigars was because smoking cigars with Jared and Kevin Dixie and all them. First time really got into drinking like old fashioned stuff was because Jared and the other guys and you, Johnny, and all.
Apparently, I'm a bad influence.
Jared's a bad influence, but it's one of those things like you pick up stuff from hanging out with guys. And
I started hanging out with Jared and started throwing rolls of quarters at bums, the homeless, in a tight spiral.
Jared just throws money around, But I think it is that duality, and I think it was important for me. And outside of doing these types of things and going to ranges and doing these training courses and meeting some of these other guys, I don't know if I would have done it otherwise. And I think it's important that connection, that real person connection, doing sometimes the prototypical guy things. It's important. Guys do need that. Even if it's just we were joking about golf because we went to have lunch at this golf course and a bunch of old timers are spending a Thursday afternoon.
They were it's a bunch of old dudes in Nashville having the best time. They look like a bunch of crypt keepers coming in. One had like a big like sore on his face and they were like really skinny and withered. And there was one that was pasty pale and the other three were like leather. They were having fun though.
Yeah, and I think that's important. Something like that, doing the traditional guy stuff.
It's fellowship. Yeah. You mentioned introvert and fellowship in the same sentence, and all I could think of is a bunch of people just sitting in cubicles, and that being fellowship for introverts.
It's hard. It's hard to go through life with these feelings. Men don't talk about their feelings, and we're doing a lot of generalities today, but a lot of these are tendencies that every dude deals with. Every dude deals with their masculinity. Every dude deals with their sexuality. Every dude deals with our relationship with women. Men today, as we talked earlier today, that they are objectifying women at levels that are unprecedented. You can look at the greatest philanderers of all time, possibly King Solomon. They were wives. I don't know if that's philandering. I don't know, but he saw a lot of naked women.
Hugh Hefner?
Hugh Hefner saw a lot of naked women. Kublai Khan and Genghis Khan saw a lot of naked women. The average, this is not my words, this is some research that was done. The average seventh grader in America by seventh grade has seen 5 times the number of naked women that King Solomon ever saw in his lifetime. So every man is dealing with being in 2024. And this is not judgmental at all. It's just what men deal with today. We're expected to earn. We have these feelings in us that we are supposed to go out, conquer, kill giants, break things, scratch, fart, and burp. And yet we live in a society that says, sit down and get attached to your feminine side and have a man bun. And in that society, it's tough to have all of these feelings. I'm going to throw this out there. It's freaking awesome to be a man.
It is.
Sure is.
It is freaking awesome. Even when society says to go grow your damn man bun, excuse the language, I'm going to ask you both this. What's the coolest thing? So there may be 30. To you, what's the coolest? I'm going to go first. What is the coolest thing about being a man? Because we do like to burp, scratch, fart, and break things. We like to build things and tear things up. There's some of y'all watching, when you get something new, you tear it apart. First thing you do, or you break things, or you lift things, or you get things off the top shelf. It's men doing what men do, and we can freaking spit further than women, and it's awesome. We love women. Do we love women?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah, we can spit further. I'm going to say this. Holy smokes, it's good to pee standing up. And it's true. It is. Like, women have to like go sit down and wipe and do all that stuff. I was headed to the car the other day. I walked out of my house, stopped in my yard, peed, got in my car and kept going. I'm like, take that, women. We love the women, but we get a pee standing up. Jared, where are you at? What's cool about being a man?
Being able to populate the earth. Because contrary to what people might be telling you, that's the only way it happens.
You have, as to quote George Clooney of the Soggy Bottom Boys, you have spread your seed.
Spread your seed.
That's pretty good. Populating the earth. That's biblical. You know, it said, go. I don't know what the actual verse says, but it said,
Get out there and do it.
multiply is what it
Yeah.
said. Yeah, it's pretty doggone cool. Is you can Anthony, I'll explain the birds and bees later to you.
Oh, yeah,
but
I
you
appreciate
can
it. Thank
you
you.
can do the biology. You get a human out of it. Like another human comes out. And the day they handed my son to me, and I'm like sitting there going, I made this. I did it. It's kind of cool. So we got peeing standing up, also with the same anatomy, procreation. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate that. Anthony, what do you got?
You guys both was like a physical trait.
Yeah.
Weird.
We had the phallic answers.
Phallic answers. Maybe I'll try to do something outside of the phallic. I don't know. It's hard. There's a lot that's cool. I really like the way a male's brain actually works because I know you guys with your guys' wives and
You said wives. Wife? This guy is single, ready to mingle like a Pringle. I am as single as they come. If any of you have an aunt, a
for our
sister,
one female watcher.
or that's what I'm saying. If you have a daughter who is of appropriate age, if they're nice, fun, lovely, and they love guns, freedom, and they hate the freaking federal government, I'm your guy.
Use code date me.
Use code date the ball to rank
JohnnyB.com. No, I just like the way the guys' brains work. I mean, compared to my wife, we were joking.
Women are amazing, to be clear.
But they're
Women are
from
amazing.
Venus.
The way their brains work, like I don't know if I could deal with that. I like that I can be so single tracked brain about the things that I like. We were joking this morning. We were watching The Price is Right, and we're joking about it. And she's like, "You would not be able to win this because you don't go shop. You don't know what the prices are. You don't know." And I was like, "Yeah, because my brain doesn't care. I don't care about those things. I like guns. I like loud noises. I like
to scratch.
lifting weights. I like scratching. It's awesome that it takes me 5 minutes to get ready versus her hour to get ready. I can't imagine being a female and having to do all that.
But to be fair, they can't freaking imagine being us either.
Yeah.
The quote Seinfeld in the I was in a pool shrinkage, back to the phallic talk. Elaine looked at Jerry and George and was like, they shrink? And they're like, yeah. And then she goes, I don't know how you guys walk around with those things. And she exited the room. I think her point was, I don't know how dudes are dudes. And I think we look at women, we're like, I don't know how they do it. All the feelings and the touching and all the like feelings. And we're like, I need steak. Give me steak. I scratch. I sleep. Have y'all heard of the Nothing Box? There was a comedian or somebody like 20 years ago described the male Nothing Box. And it's the box that he goes to that's to think about nothing. I can sit and do whatever I want, and it's nothing.
Yep.
And when his wife, girlfriend, or whatever, mistress says, what are you thinking about? And he goes, nothing. And she doesn't believe him, and she's pissed. It pisses women off that men don't just have a nothing box. They go to the nothing box as often. And one of the viewers is going to tell us who said that, but it's a comedian that has a whole bit on it. And it rings so true with every dude. Heck yeah. Jared, you ever go to that nothing box?
Yes, and I enjoy it. Leave me alone.
Is that your motorcycle time or is that your car time?
A lot of the times it is either or, just to be alone and not have to worry about the pressures we deal with, just to get away for a little bit. But
And you really are thinking about nothing.
Yeah, because I don't want to think about anything. I just want to enjoy the wind in my face if I'm on the bike, or I just want to hear the roar of the motor. If I'm in my car, or even if I'm in my recliner, I just want to be left alone for, give me 15 minutes and then I'll get back to the chaos that is, 4 kids and stuff like that.
Anthony, where's your nothing box?
Probably a couple random things. Sometimes I'll play video games and it's very, very rarely. Like I'm talking maybe once every 2 months, I'll play a couple video games. And I find that is actually the only time my brain will completely shut off. I don't know if it's because I have some other stimulus that just takes up that time. Other than that, tinkering with guns, like actually finally getting to do the things that I want to do with guns and not just talk about laws and all that stuff. Putting on optics or changing parts out. That's kind of my brain goes quiet.
Yeah.
Ooh. gun.
Ooh, I have made stuff. I think it's freaking awesome to be a man, even though I think we struggle more than ever. I hope we can turn this thing around where it takes to her 65 to be happy again. I hope as you've moved into a whole different world in the last 5 years that I hope your 30s are easier than my 30s were. I've stepped into 50. I hope my 50s are better than my dad's 50s were, and his were pretty good, I think. So I think all of us, I hope we do better. I really do. Let us know where we missed it. What are you dealing with? And we're not trying to be sappy, but does any of this
We
resonate?
don't care about feelings.
We don't care about feelings. What do you want to go break, scratch, or fart on, or burp about? But for you guys, and I know most of y'all are men, like Jared said, are men. I hope that y'all are doing better than you were. I think we need to do better, Jared.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the goal of every day, is to try to be better than I was yesterday.
We're going to leave you with a grunt each. We're glad you found us, however you did. Thanks for joining us here on the Liberty Lounge podcast. Everybody, let's grunt.